Alright, so welcome back to another video. In this video, we'll go ahead and talk about build on where we left off, which is like a syndication. So we finished the syndication last two videos, specifically Google OAuth. This time what we'll do is we'll work on basically create new nodes, essentially create new nodes. And then we will use two external frameworks or libraries, if we want to call that. Bootstrap CSS and then CKEditor for actually edit your content. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started, see how much we can get finished. Alright, so now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and first define some helper function that's going to use. So in here I'm just going to create a new file called helpers.py. And then in here, I'm just going to create first helper function first. And then in here, just going to say from functools, import wraps. We're going to create a decorator. And then you can find this in Flask documentation. Here, going to say from Flask, import request, redirect URL4 as well as session. Okay. And here we'll say something like this. Define login required. Take a parameter of f, and then here just gonna use the decorator syntax. Wraps. And then here let's define a wrapper function, decorated function, taking arbitrary args and then quarks. And then in here, we're gonna say something like this. If session.get user ID is none, then maybe we want to say go return redirect URL4 login and then next going to equals to request.pass. So what's happening here? Well, we created some decorator. Don't worry if you don't know what decorator means. You will see how to use it in just a little bit. But this is the important part. It's basically we're checking can we get the user ID or not. Because if we cannot get the user ID where the user ID is none, that means that there's no authenticated user. That means no user has been logged in yet. Then we're gonna say redirect them to login. Basically. Sorry, just a sec. Alright. Okay. Yeah, so that's basically what's happening. And then notice that we also have we'll use URL4. What is URL4? Is basically instead of hard code a route that you redirect to, you put the function name there. So like a function, for example, in this case, I want to redirect them to this login function. I don't care what the route is, just found the function, and then automatically redirect to its given route, basically. And then I also provide a optional argument called next, which is just going to be knows that, okay, since the users come here, that means after we authenticate it, we want to redirect user not just to the home page, but maybe to some other pages. That's require user to log in. And then in here, just gonna finish this off. Return if args quarks, and then return decorate function. Alright, so this is basically a login required. It's essentially gonna check whether the user logged in or not. And then now what we can do is we can start to define a index function. So in here, we're gonna say something like this: app.route slash. And here, we're just gonna define, let's just say index, or I can say home. We want to prefer that. And then here, it's gonna be really simple. We're going to do something like this. We're gonna say at login required under the app.route here. And then actually in here we need to say from helpers imports login required. I can put login required here. And then in here, then we can assume the user is logged in. And then what we could do is something like this, such as and then in here, let's go pass for now. So let's take a look how would this index function behave. So let's go to 127, so like 4,500. If I go there, let's see, let's refresh again. Didn't return a valid response. Let's see. Return session directory user. I'm not sure. Is the user logged in? No, the user is not logged. Or user ID. So like, I mean, this should stop user from visiting this route. Yeah. Okay, so the user is logged in. That's why we need to have a route that point to log out. And then it's pretty simple. Just gonna clear the session and then return them to the home page, basically. So now let's just say /logout, and then now you probably realized already, but if I go to this 5,000 again, notice that it's automatically prompt me to log in with Google. That's because the iLogin required works, and then checking that okay, we don't have the this user is not logged in, thus he cannot access any notes since we don't know who it is, but we can prompt them to log in first. And here in here we could say something like this, and then slash is going to be a dashboard page where the user can manage their notes they published. And then in here we'll just say something like this. This is something like this. We will return we'll go ahead and do another SQL query. So SQL query, and then here we're just gonna say let's do a select query. I'm gonna still select like this wildcard or asterisk or select everything in SQL basically from notes. And then in here we just want to say something. We just want to get the notes that matches the user ID. So session.get user ID. Alright, we'll basically want to get all the notes that this person created. And then since we don't have this notes table created beforehand, we need to go ahead and open up this database in DB browser for SQLite. Let's give it a sec. Alright, so this is DB browser for SQLite, and then what I could is I can create a new table, and then this table, let's just call this notes, and then essentially it's going to have quite a few rows actually. It's going to have title, actually let's just do user ID first, as well as title, description, a thumbnail, picture, link. That we'll go ahead and talk about using W3 basically, and then S3, sorry, the Amazon CDN, and then here we actually need a note ID as well. Just want to move this field up. It's going to be unique. I don't think that's absolutely necessary. Go check that anyway. And then we have two more. One is content, and then actually one is status. The one is content. Oops. All right. So no ID. Yeah, no ID. Let's see. Actually, no ID gonna be string as well. Yeah. And then let's go click OK. And now you can see we create a new table. Let's make sure we write our changes. And now, now you can see we can now successfully query If we have any data, of course, there will be no data since we didn't create any table just yet. All right, so now what I want to do is now what I want to do is return HTML templates. So now you can see all we return is really either we didn't return something per se, like we redirect them to a certain URL, or we just return them as string. But this time I want to return them as sophisticated HTML templates. So how can I do that? Well, first of all, you need to create a template under your root directory, wherever your Flask app is, and then create folder name templates. And in here, we're just gonna create a file called index.html. And then later we'll talk about template inheritance, but for now we're just gonna do a skeleton like this. And then in here you're gonna say something like this. So in here you're gonna say in basically let's just say dashboard, and then well, I mean we could use Bootstrap for this. So basically what I will use is actually a Jinja syntax. So if you don't know, Jinja is a templating language that Flask and Django uses. Django is another web framework built upon Python. And in here you can say it refers to like double curly braces. And in here we can just see, let's see what notes do we got. And then in here we're going to import render templates from Flask. Here we're just gonna say return render templates index.html and then notes equals notes. Alright, so let me go login. Success, and later we'll actually redirect them to the home page or the session. And then notice that this is an empty array, so that means we don't actually have any nodes just yet. But now what I want to do is I actually want to create. I actually want to create insert a row into the notes table, so we can just see how it looks like. So insert into notes. Let's see. No ID, user ID, description, status, as well as contents, and then values. It's just gonna be no ID. I'm just gonna get 1, and our user ID, at least my Google user ID, please this long string right here, and put it here. Title is hello world. Hello world. Image description, let me leave it empty for now. Status is gonna be public, and contents it's going to be hello world. All right, and then now let's go ahead and execute this. All right, changes. Now if you refresh again, you can see we got this rows of data come back to us. And then now we can really start to do some processing with it. So in here I can use a Jinja loop. So it turns out that you can actually loop through something in Jinja or in the HTML templates as well. So in here I can just say for notes in notes. I notice that I actually pass notes as a parameter when I render this template, so I can use it. So for notes in notes, and for, and then maybe I just want to print out note here. And then you can see this is like the tuple information. And then here I could say something like the title is going to be position 0, 1, 2. So maybe we could say something like title. is something like this, for example. This is something that we could possibly do. And then to make it a little bit more beautiful, we'll use a tool called Get Bootstrap. And then basically it's a CSS framework if you haven't heard of it. Since I'm not really a specialized front-end developer, say, I'm more like a back-end developer guy. So I use Bootstrap in all my projects. So that's why all my project maybe looks really identical in like its style, because I use Bootstrap. And then in here, I believe we have something called card that we can borrow from card. We can use this. Yeah, this is pretty standard. And then here I can just copy and paste. And then okay, actually let me go and wrap them into a container first. And let me give them a class of row as well. Alright, and then now if I pasted another card, so like each card represents a node that's this user created. And then I could add some margin, but that's not important, that's like really trivial. So basically for each node, I probably want to create a card. And then you may ask, if I do a for loop like here, you might ask, wait, but then isn't there going to be so many cards stacked together? Not really. It's like only like 3 or 4 cards can appear in a row, so like Bootstrap will automatically resizing them. So you don't have to worry about that. So I can just paste it here, and then let me tap to make them looks neat. And then this is basically like how would it look like a card. And then this image is one of the most interesting features that's going to implement. They're going to use Amazon's web service, specifically as I mentioned above, S3. Let's see. And then that will be for the next video. But in here, the title is just going to be, if I remember correctly, note bracket 2. This is just going to be description. So if we refresh, you can see we got their respective title and description here. Okay, basically, and then now what I want to do is actually create a really basic form where user can submit, and then submit to create a new note basically. And to do that, it's really simple. I'm just gonna create a new template. And then we're gonna borrow stuff from Bootstrap again. Let's first copy the CDN links. And then I'm actually gonna get the CK editor set up first, since that's like relatively the most interesting to set up. So let's do this. Go into them. Alright, so now what I can do is I could go to a website called cdn.ckeditor.com, and then I'm just gonna let's use ckeditor 5. So I'm just gonna copy the CDN here, so I can paste it right here. And then now what I can do is I can create editor. I'm gonna create my editor, and then we'll actually do something like this as well. Window.editor equals to editor. So basically we're assigning a thing to our global window object. That's so we can refer it later, basically. And then now let's go and take a look at this new template that's we created. So let me associate a new route as well. And then it's just gonna be a new Then this is also going to be a login required. Then new. And then return render templates new.html. And now if we go to, whoops, if we go there, /new, because it can take a while to load, but now you can see we got a CK editor set up. And then some magic thing that we can do with it is we can actually get the HTML contents of it. We can actually get the HTML contents of it. So basically, we could do something like window.editor.getData. Now I can see it's actually return us the HTTP code, basically. And then I'm actually gonna forbidden some feature, like add a video, insert media. I don't think you could do that. Like I tried that, it doesn't work. But like the rest of the feature works. And then like you can create different tables. You could create a link. Let me put my dead blog here. I didn't publish my blog now, but here's my blog. And then you can type any contents here. And then basically when you click on submit, maybe we don't want to submit immediately because like we want to get the data first and then store it into like a hidden input and then later send basically. But yeah, I think that's all we're gonna do. So we didn't really do much, but we briefly talked about how templates and Jinja works. We create a dummy row and then we take a look like different nodes that we got, as well as how to work with CK Editor. In the next video, we're gonna finish up of creating new nodes, as well as talk about Amazon Web Services S3. So if you haven't have a AWS account, be sure to sign up so you can prepare for the next video if you want to. So that's kind of like a homework if you want to take it that way. But for now, thanks for watching this video. Again, if you want to, please share, like, and subscribe or comment down below. I appreciate all of it. I appreciate the 43 subscribers I have. And also, I will have a live stream with Sahaj at 9:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Basically, so like we can like designing a YouTube live stream chatting bot, commenting bot, basically something like that. If you want to do that, you can check the discussion panel in my channel. And then I'll probably create a stream link, and then you could wait to get a notification if you want to. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll put some links into the description down below if you want to support the channel, and thanks for watching. See you next time.